It is time for social studies, and today you're going to need your textbook and your chapter 7 packet and a pencil, please. Open up your book to page 70 and open up your packet to page 4, and we're looking at Rhode Island right here. Rhode Island. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you. You can go ahead and read it in your head. You can read it out loud right with me. We can do some choral reading. I won't be able to hear you though. But please follow along, and remember we're going to be looking for why was this colony founded, what was the geography and climate like, what jobs were available, and what was their government like, what was their system of government. So here we go, Rhode Island. And again, this is the New England colony, one of them. Massachusetts was the other one we read about, and there were a couple more, but we're only going to focus on Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Rhode Island was founded so that people could freely practice different religions. Well, that just answers one of our questions right off the bat, doesn't it? So why don't you go ahead and in your packet where it says why it was founded, and again, we're in Rhode Island, it just said, first sentence, so that people could freely practice different religions. Okay, so that people could freely practice different religions. Remember, in England, it wasn't like that. The king wanted them to go to the Church of England, same as him. Okay, in 1635, a young minister named Roger Williams ran into trouble for criticizing the government of Massachusetts. That's the previous one we looked at. Unlike the colony's Puritan leaders, Williams believed that government and religion should be kept separate. Eventually, he was forced to leave Massachusetts. So he started off in Massachusetts and then left. Williams spent the winter with a group of Native Americans. In 1636, he started a town called Providence. This town became the capital of New England colony of Rhode Island. 2 years later, another preacher, Anne Hutchinson, spoke out against Puritan beliefs. She too was forced to leave Massachusetts, and she moved to Rhode Island. In time, the colony became known as a place where people with different religious beliefs were welcome. Rhode Island's climate and geography allowed colonists to create a strong economy. Narragansett, Bay and several rivers provided fish, transportation, and trade. Animals were trapped for their furs. The colony's forests provided timber. The soil in the southern part of the colony was good for farming. Winters were harsh, but summer rains were enough to grow healthy crops. Okay, there's a whole lot in that paragraph. I think we'll write the rest in a little bit. Let's just finish reading this section off. So we're right here, second to last paragraph. Most colonists in Rhode Island were farmers or traders. They raised animals and grew corn, tobacco, and beans on small farms. Ships from Rhode Island carried rum, sugar, wool, and beef to buyers in England and the West Indies, islands in the Caribbean Sea. Some colonists became rich by trading African slaves, even though few of them owned slaves themselves. Our whole next chapter is all about that situation. Rhode Island was one of the most democratic colonies. In the early years, all men could vote for the colony's governor and their local officials. Later, only men who owned property could vote, but voters did not have to belong to a church. Okay, so this is a lot of information. Let's pick out the nuts and bolts, the important meat and potatoes, I call it. Our last paragraph just ended with a description of government. I think that's probably the least amount of information that we'll have to write down. So let's go here, the description of government. It just said that it was one of the most democratic. In the early years, all men could vote. Notice it didn't say women. So at first, all men could vote. Later, only men with property could vote. So remember when we were in Massachusetts, it said that men who were members of the Puritan church could vote. This one wasn't tied to their religious beliefs or belonging to a church. It was tied to owning property. So if you owned property, then you got to have a say in the colony's government, their governor and local officials. Okay, so a lot was mentioned about their geography, and let's go ahead. There was a specific place that was noted, one that I had a hard time saying, so I'm going to spell it out. Narragansett Bay. Narragansett. I'm sure I'm saying it horribly. Bay. I'll look it up, and hopefully in class I'll be able to pronounce it right. It had many rivers, good soil, and that was only in the southern parts. So we're just going to say southern in parentheses. I'm sorry, let me scooch that. So many rivers, good soil, and they did mention some things about their winters. They had harsh winters. And let's see, summer rains helped them grow crops. So summer rains helped with crops. Okay. So as far as the available jobs go, let's see. Looks like there's a lot that are listed. I'm gonna look in the 1, 2, 3, I think the 4th and 5th paragraphs are gonna help. It said that there were several rivers that provided fish, transportation, and trade. So there was fishing, there was trade, there was also hunting or animal trapping. That's what they had called it. And they did have good soil for farming, so there was farming. All right, I think we've got it all. That's everything we need for Rhode Island. Thank you for watching.